Hello, fellow warriors against consensus reality, lovers of truth, wisdom, knowledge, the pursuit of the esoteric inner path, and irreverent lovers of sarcasm everywhere. Yeah, I was one of those quiet mornings. Interruptions, you gotta fucking love them. But yeah, it's a sort of quiet morning, conducive for introspective thought, and especially having watched a couple of films based on World War II times, and what I'm finding sort of disturbing about watching those kind of films is how similar many of the procedures and thoughts and ways they did things are very similar to today. QR check-ins, and I need to see your vax status papers, right? I'm sorry, but I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to be as irreverent and sarcastic as possible, and help myself and everyone around me to destroy their pathetic, puny little ego mind illusions that we spend so much fucking time propping up and building and pumping so much precious energy into. But as I've been on a Abrahamic gobshite, let me be ironic here, crusade lately, the parallels, especially during the Constantine era, and when the church was gaining power and they were destroying all other dissent and destroying, well, the great library of Alexandria. And there's a quote here from that the Pagan Christ book by Thomas Harpur that I was mentioning. There's a quote here that really, as you Americans would say, it really gets my goat. Or is that British? Oh, I forget. Every time I read this passage, it just really fucking pisses me off all over again. Quote, "The utter destruction of the 500 to 750,000 books and scrolls of the incredible library at Alexandria by a Christian mob stands as perhaps the greatest single testimony to the overwhelming hatred of learning and education held by the rank and file majority of who flocked to the new religion. They were looking, as I have already described, for an exoteric or literal religion suited to the lowest common denominator." Unquote. So, of course, when you go and change things around to your liking and falsify history and all the rest of it and start a campaign of brutal censorship and destruction of any kind of differing opinion or perspective, you're asking to die a slow and painful death. And as I said many times, I'm so glad to see Christianity slowly and painfully dying from its own self-created cancer. There's the irony. They cause their own destruction from the very beginning. That's just beautiful. But I mean, some of the scrolls that some of the people at the Great Library, they did I mean, there's only so much you can save. I mean, when you've got almost 1 million books and scrolls, what can you do? But some very few were saved apparently, and were taken to the Hellenic place Mount Athos, which has been a monastery for many, many, many years. And apparently they may still have copies of copies. We don't know. It's been very... You think the Freemasons are secretive. But I just find it interesting how the so-called truth, the immutable truth, all right, was so elevated and so superior and so inspired by the Holy Spirit and blah, 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 blah. So why were you people so insecure and so afraid of dissenting opinion? Right? But I forget. Yes, I know I'm going to take the piss out of their God once again. When you're too busy fixated on what people do in the bedroom with their dangly bits, and when you're having a good wank over the male foreskin and obsessing over it, you've got a wee bit of a problem. As the so-called creator of the universe. So, let me get this straight. With all the galaxies, I mean, the conservative, brain-dead materialist so-called scientist, scientific estimate is billions of galaxies. So if you have an extremely conservative estimate of one galaxy has one planet, one inhabited planet, that's still billions of planets. So you're telling me that the creator of all these billions and billions of worlds is going to obsess over one planet in billions, and is going to obsess over the male foreskin from this one planet out of billions. Now, riddle me that, Bible fuckers. But I digress. People have recently, especially during the last couple of years, been talking about the decay of civilization, and there are still good channels out there about that. One of my main ones is Academy of Ideas. Check them out; they're absolutely fucking brilliant. Very poignant and very timely released videos, by the way. And people talk about parallels from, say, the fall of Rome, and various other epochs in history which share similarities, which share similar patterns. Now, that there are people who spend a lot of time studying this stuff, and the patterns that we're seeing in Rome, in other eras of and epochs of history, we're seeing today, repeated once again. Because you know the old saying, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And those of us with half a brain and a desire to disconnect from the teat of the propaganda machine known as mainstream media and actually read, physical books, and then still enjoy physical CDs, and just nothing beats it. Realize and discover for ourselves these patterns that other people talk about. I mean, a lot of people have said a lot of things about someone like David Icke, but I really, really believe this whole reptilian thing that he goes on about, especially in the past. I really have the feeling that he loves to play the role of the fool to get the real information out. Because when I read some of his books, especially during the last 10 years, Really spot on material. Just brilliantly written. So I'm really of the opinion that this whole reptilian thing is, and some of the other blatantly idiotic ideas that he's said over the years, is purposely playing the role of the fool of the major arcana of the tarot, the archetypal fool, to get the real information out. Because when everyone's too busy ridiculing him, then he really doesn't appear to be a threat to the quote-unquote powers that be, you see? And now we're living in an era of increasing censorship, and you're thinking, okay, if this is a real virus, if there is a real... I've got to be careful with the words I use for the YouTube Gestapo machine. And if there was really a scamdemic, then it would have been obvious to everyone. The facts would have been clear. It would have all made sense. Here are the facts. Here are the tests. Here is all the information. All the doctors and epidemiologists and virologists and microbiologists and all these other people are all of one accord. The evidence is clear. Case closed. This is what needs to happen. But that's not the case, is it? And because many of us who have half a brain, who don't suck at the teat of mainstream media, realise that, well, the only virus that there is the spread of totalitarian cancer. The development of the Orwellian Ministry of Truth right before our very fucking eyes. And the biggest crime is so many fucking people just blindly letting it all happen and ridiculing those of us who actually dare to question. And of course, those who are the most brain dead and the most obedient are the most confident in their delusion. You notice that? Because as my hallowed ancient namesake Socrates would say, and I quote, "The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing." Unquote. Thereby suppressing and keeping in check that annoying little creature called the ego mind. And watching one of these films, and it was actually the second one I watched, Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. Actually, quite a good film so far. He was a colonel in the German World War II era. I've got to be careful with my words. German World War II era forces. And he realised, you know what? This is actually not about fighting for your country. This is insane. Civilians have been killed. This is all wrong. And showing that kind of heart, showing that kind of humanity is, well, sadly rare these days with people of any kind of authority. And I could not hate the police more than I do right now. Or government. I have never hated government more than I do right now. Because I don't care. They're not of the people, for the people. They don't give a flying fuck about the people. They just see us as resource fodder. Alright, we're numbers to them. They don't give a fuck. As I've said till I'm blue in the face, they don't give a fuck about our health. They don't give a fuck about dark-skinned people. They don't give a fuck about women. The only thing they give a fuck about is their own sociopathic needs and vices. And the need to be as sadistic and evil and fucking stupid as possible and control as much as possible. Be good, greedy little cunts and care about, treat us people with increasing contempt that they naturally feel for us. Alright, so they're not going through all this because of health. They don't give a fuck about health. The Orwellian nightmare totalitarian global regime that so many people have warned about for the past century or two is happening now, and everybody's just, most people, sitting back and just letting it all fucking happen. So now's the time to educate yourself, people. Now's the time to actually wake up and do your own reading, do your own research. As I told one of the above-mentioned mouthy, mask-policing cunts at my once favourite cafe, which I really don't go to anymore. I mentioned him in a video before, but he is, to me, the epitome of what's wrong with the system, where it's not really the authority you need to worry about, it's snitching, brain-dead, clueless gobshites who, upon hearing some nuggets of truth that I shared after having a discussion with him one day about world events and government and all the rest of that stuff, when he got all butthurt and he goes, oh, I want sources and references. I said, okay, so you want me to take 20, 30 years of research and just present it to you all here laid out clearly. Get off your lazy fat backside and do your own fucking research. We're all supposed to be, quote unquote, equal, right? We all have the same faculties at our disposal, right? Oh, don't get me started on the illusion of we're all equal. That's another video. But just like I said yesterday, well, I mean, I don't know about some of you guys, but I'm enjoying an increasing contempt for brain-dead modern humanity. And I'm enjoying my lone wolf and hermit archetypes very, very much lately. I have no problem going to town, sitting outside at my cafe, which actually lets me sit inside if it's raining outside, by the way, even though I'm not double jabbed. Yes, this is how good these people are. Real people, which is why it makes me happy to see them so busy lately. But anyway, I have no problem getting my coffee, sitting there amidst a sea of rushing humanity, blanking it all out and just losing myself in whatever current book I'm reading at that moment, and exchanging text messages with certain very valued people. You know who you are. But now's the time to turn off Netflix, turn off what's that silly show that people going about, Squid Game or whatever the fuck it's called, and do some serious research. I think that'll do. I now need to get ready to go to above mentioned said cafe and see which Karen I'm going to piss off today. Be well, be wise, be reverent, be sarcastic. Take the piss out of absolutely everyone and everything. And just remember to speak the truth is a lonely path. The sarcastic, amused lone wolf on guitar, out.